Right now, at 6, a crackdown on retail theft leads to more than a dozen arrests in Washington County.
It's an avenue for us to address crime in general.
Plus, how the Portland Public School District feels about the governor's plan to improve student performance.
I will say testing alone isn't going to solve some of the achievement concerns that we have.
And later in sports, an All-Oregon Conference Championship tilt in Vegas between the Pilots and Beavers. Which team just punched their ticket to the big dance? Thanks for joining us. I'm Christine Pitawanich. We begin here at 6 with sad news out of Lincoln County, where the body of a 2-year-old, Dane Paulson, has been found in the Siletz River downstream from his home. A volunteer diver with the Angels Recovery Dive Team, who had offered services to Dane's family, made the discovery around 11:15 this morning. He was working with the help of a local river guide about 3 miles down from the Paulson home, below where Sheriff's Office divers had searched extensively. Dane went missing March 1st. Family last saw him playing out in the yard outside his home, which is close to the Siletz River. Early on, the Lincoln County Sheriff described the 2-year-old as friendly and fearless, and also very comfortable around the water, but he was unable to swim. For 10 days, many professional and volunteer searchers from the community and the Northwest looked for Dane. Later, the focus became the river. The sheriff's office is now going through the scene. Now to Hillsborough, where police made more than a dozen arrests in a retail theft sting over the weekend. Our Daisy Caballero joins us now live from Tanasbourne, where the arrests were made. Daisy, lots of stolen items recovered here too.
Yeah, Christine, I'm told more than 120 items were found in this sting operation. And of course, I'm also told that this was all made possible thanks to a grant program from the state. Now, the Hillsborough Police Department says it made 13 arrests on Saturday throughout several retail stores in Tanasbourne, 7 of which had warrants out for their arrests. I spoke with Jim Reese today. He's with Hillsborough Police. He told me this was one of their top 10 most successful operations to date, and they in part have the Organized Retail Theft Grant Program approved by Oregon legislatures to thank for the extra funds to help pay for staffing.
Is useful to bring in officers that would typically be off during those times to come in and focus solely on the retail theft without having to put a burden on our patrol staff that is already very busy with the ongoing calls throughout the community.
Hundreds of people took to social media to thank the officers for their work, and that was the same sentiment people shared with me who were out shopping a little earlier today. Now, Reese tells me that Tim and his department are very happy with the outcome of this operation, and they will continue them for as long as they can. Christine, back to you.
Okay, thank you so much for your reporting, Daisy. In tonight's other headlines, Clackamas County commissioners are evaluating their options before appointing a replacement for Melissa Fireside. Fireside, who was just elected in November, resigned from her commission seat last week after she was charged with felony theft. At today's meeting, commissioners discussed the replacement process, but ultimately asked the county administrator to put together a list of options for them to revisit next week. And take a look at this. It is the aftermath of a car that crashed into a building this afternoon in Vancouver. It happened along Northeast Minnehaha Street. The driver was not hurt and managed to get out of the car on their own. Fortunately, no one was inside the building at the time of the crash. Police are investigating how this happened. Today, opening arguments got underway in a civil trial pitting a former Timbers goalkeeper against the club's former physician. Jake Gleason played nearly a decade for the Timbers and was on the MLS Cup winning team back in 2015. He had shin pain in 2018, was diagnosed with stress fractures, then had surgery to have metal plates inserted. But Gleason developed infections, and after more than a dozen surgeries, he was forced to retire. Gleason sued former Timbers physician Dr. Richard Edelson, who performed the surgery for $25 million. He alleges medical malpractice. The trial is expected to last a few weeks. Oregon's unemployment rate climbed to its highest point since 2021, and the Portland metro area is seeing a similar trend. Today, state officials put the metro area's unemployment rate at 5% in January. That's up from 4.4% 1 year prior to that, which is also the current statewide rate. That translates to nearly 70,000 people in the metro area being unemployed. But employers did add a net 1,000 jobs. That is after a decline of 5,000 in December. Matt?
All right, Christine, thank you very much. It's been a cloudy day here. Say, wave to the camera there, Christine. It's been a cloudy day here in the Northwest, but we have some rain right now, as a matter of fact, 52, and some light rain falling in downtown Portland and up through Northeast Portland as well, with this thin band of showers that just developed and moved on in. But there is a lot more rain on the way and a lot more off the coast. And in fact, there is a winter weather advisory beginning about 24 hours from now in the Cascades and extending into Thursday night. And that'll be the first of what may end up being several advisories or warnings for snow in the Cascades in the week ahead. Tomorrow morning, first things first, plan on a very wet commute on Wednesday morning. That may slow things down a bit, so be ready for that. Still raining at noon. By 5 o'clock, it should break up into showers and maybe a few glimpses of the sun later on in the day tomorrow, but they won't last long because, as I said, we have several more storms coming our way. So the rain beginning pretty much now, wet week ahead, heavy snow in the Cascades, and the snow level as low as 1,500 feet on Wednesday. Now, we're running a deficit for our March rainfall so far by about an inch. By Monday, that will be a surplus. Back to you, Christine.
Lots of rain to come. Thank you so much, Matt. Developing on Capitol Hill, a Republican stopgap bill to fund the government through September and avert a Friday shutdown has passed the House, but it's facing an uphill battle in the Senate. The bill passed by a narrow 4-vote margin along party lines, with just one Republican voting against and just one Democrat voting for it. It includes a $13 billion cut in non-defense spending. That's not including department cuts made by DOJ and a $6 billion increase in the Pentagon budget. Democrats say the bill is too vague and gives the Trump administration too much discretion on spending decisions. It heads to the Senate, where it needs to win the support of 8 Democrats to pass by Friday's deadline. And the Trump administration is threatening 60 universities with funding cuts, and Portland State is one of them. This comes after what it calls anti-Semitic discrimination and harassment. In letters sent out yesterday, the Department of Education alleges the schools failed to protect Jewish students when campus protests erupted last spring over the Israel-Hamas war. Last October, the then Biden administration opened a civil rights investigation into PSU over a racist flyer that appeared on campus. At the time, PSU President Ann Cudd condemned the flyer and said the university took action against the person who put it up. But after President Trump took office, the Education Department opened a new investigation into PSU. And we've just received a statement from PSU saying they acknowledge receiving the letter, adding, quote, "We want to reaffirm our dedication to addressing and preventing any form of discrimination or harassment, including anti-Semitism within our community." A new bill in Salem is pushing for more accountability in Oregon schools, but Portland Public Schools says without funding, meeting the students' needs will be a challenge. Devin Haskins heard from district leaders today about the 2 bills that the governor is backing. Devin, what'd they tell you?
Well, they agree with the accountability part of the bills, but are pushing back on the bills themselves because to meet those state metrics, they say they need funding, something those bills don't offer.
PPS is already facing at least a $40 million budget shortfall.
What we wanted to be before you talking about this morning is that we're at crisis level.
And while the governor's budget allocates money towards education, without it, PPS says the shortfall could be worse. Neither House Bill 2009 or Senate Bill 141 provides additional funding to districts for more resources, but requires improvements in student learning.
Until we're fully funding the quality education model the way that it was set, we're going to continue to be in this conversation about inadequate funding.
The 2 bills in the Oregon legislature focus on district accountability, by measuring student success through a series of metrics. But Portland Public School leaders say it doesn't provide the resources or funding needed to improve those numbers.
I will say testing alone isn't going to solve some of the achievement concerns that we have in our system. Support will. Making sure that we have the resources so that we can fully fund our classrooms with the humans that they need to help close some of those gaps and with our learning.
Recent statewide testing shows that Oregon students continue to lag behind pre-pandemic proficiency levels. And with these bills, if a district continually fails to meet state standards, the state could take control of up to 25% of school funding for struggling districts.
The proposal, as I can understand it, calls for multiple years and begins a few years out. So hopefully by then we'll have turned the ship and things won't be quite as they've been the last couple of years.
And when asked if the funding for more resources wasn't provided, could PPS still achieve the results? Well, their response was,
we'll see.
The district said that if it got to the point where the state needed to step in and offer coaching and guidance, they said that's something that they would welcome. Back to you.
Yeah, more to come from our state lawmakers, I'm sure. Thank you, Devin.